Shadows of Egypt. On his way back home, he stopped one by one at the inns where caravanners rested. In these troubled and turbulent days of Egypt, he gathered the freshest news and the latest developments in the palace from here. As he sat down at a table in the inn, a young charcoal burner, covered in soot from head to toe, approached him. The innkeeper was just about to kick him out when he turned back to his work with a subtle wink from Assur. At this early hour of the morning, there was no one around them except for fish-smelling men who had finished their work and wanted to fill their stomachs. Assur handed a few pearls from his pouch to the young charcoal burner while warning him gently. "These are some of the most valuable ones. Accordingly, I expect to receive valuable information." The young charcoal burner scanned his surroundings with cautious eyes as he took the pearls and began to speak. "The conflict in the palace is growing. Ptolemy claims to be the ruler of Egypt. Cleopatra has no intention of handing over the administration to him, but she knows very well that the priests and, more importantly, the people must be on her side for this. The Romans, on the other hand, have spies and soldiers everywhere. By bribing those among the nobles who hold power, they want to rule Egypt like an autonomous province. As everyone knows, the Romans are determined to use this country as a granary, no matter how barren Egypt becomes due to the famine. The people are terrified of the Romans, but they do not know that they are not considering taking these lands by war." While Assur listened to him intently, he was also keeping an eye on his surroundings. "After all, most of them have nothing to lose but their lives," he said in a low voice that the young charcoal burner could not understand. Just then, his eyes caught a man who seemed to be eavesdropping on them. The man stood in the corner of the inn, within the shadows, as if he were a part of the wall. His eyes were intently focused on every speaking voice, yet his face remained expressionless. He was like a shadow gathering whispers in the dark corridors of the palace. Perhaps he was the eyes and ears of the pharaoh, keeping a pulse on the people. An invisible power that heard everything and was everywhere. Assur lightly tapped the young charcoal burner's foot. Stopping his speech, the youth fixed his eyes on Assur's and waited silently. The young charcoal burner looked around to ensure no one was listening. Then he continued. "You know, there is a different voice coming from every head. But there are still a few priests who support Cleopatra. Even in these days of famine, the queen succeeds in keeping the high priest on her side by sending him the finest food and drink from her palace. This shows how clever and strategic she is. I believe she will visit the high priest soon." In this period, where the Egyptian people struggled immensely to survive, the Nile no longer overflowed or brought fertile black soil. Famine had brought the people to a dire state. Everyone was preoccupied with feeding themselves and their families. Consequently, no one respected the priests or their gods anymore. Most people said, "Your gods have left us hungry," and stopped bringing offerings to the temples. People who, in the old days of abundance, would even give their own children to serve the temples, no longer even visited those places. Assur's eyes widened as if he had gathered everything he wanted to learn. The tea brought by the innkeeper had already gone cold. He reached for his bowl and drained it in one gulp. Leaving some of the money on the table, he stepped out. This information would help him gain another chance to forge the sword. He set off toward his home.